And away we go. It is the Nightcap brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar right here on BearcatJournal.com. You know the drill. Hail Mary Sports Bar located in Cheviot, right on Harrison Avenue. They're in the Dora District. You can walk from bar to bar with your drinks, or you can stay right at Hail Mary's. They got 27 TVs. They have a 9-screen video wall. It's not a bad seat in the house. They subscribe to every sports package that DirecTV offers, which they can stream all the games. And Cincinnati sports will always be on the video wall. They don't have a kitchen, but they've got various food trucks on the weekends and randomly throughout the week. Got a brand new walk-in cooler, brand new draft lines, brand new cooling system. And not only do they pour the coldest beer around, but they do so in 32.8 degree beer frosted glasses. Go see our friends at Hail Mary Sports Bar in Cheviot. All right, Aaron. I have good news.
Go on.
We don't have to talk about the Bearcats on this podcast directly.
Hallelujah.
Or the Bengals or anything related to Cincinnati sports.
It's going to be a long-ass week.
It's going to be a very long week. And I don't know. I think I'm probably going to have to somehow watch the game on my phone driving home from Kelsey's volleyball tournament this week. So that
Miami?
we can do a show Kelsey's got a tournament in Elizabethtown that they're Saturday, the varsity had a tournament that the JV and freshmen had to go and support. So she wasn't playing, so I didn't have to go to that tournament, right? This week she's playing, so I have to go. So I will not see the game. I think I have to drop her off at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then drive to Elizabethtown on the other side of Louisville for a volleyball tournament. And then I guess I'm going to watch the game when I drive home.
All of that.
If they lose, I might not. I might just do the post-game show without watching. If they lose, I'm not going to need to watch to discuss it.
If they lose, we're probably not even going to be able to talk much game because we'll be firing everyone off into the sun.
Right. So, that's what's coming up this weekend. But tonight, Sunday night, what a wild week in the Big 12. There's a lot to talk about. And we will start with Friday night's game, BYU 18-15 over SMU.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, you hate to see SMU lose. It just, it really tugs at the heartstrings. You know what BYU has that this Cincinnati team lacks, Aaron?
Religion.
They seem to have a propensity to know how to win, to pull out games. They didn't play well. That was not a good BYU team, but on the road in front of dozens of SMU fans, they managed to find a way to pull out a win. And that's half the battle in college sports. We talk about this all the time. You're dealing with, BYU's dealing with older kids, but you're dealing with kids. BYU's dealing with 24-year-olds, but the point being, you're not always going to play great. And you have to figure out how on the days when you don't play great, you find a way to get a dub. And BYU managed to beat SMU, even though, they didn't play all that well. They only scored 18 points. The defense was pretty good. But kudos to them. They figured out a way to get to the finish line. When the clock hit 0, they had more points. And I think that
all it takes.
That is a skill. That is a learned trait in college sports. And BYU did what they had to do. They moved to 2-0 and 1-0 on the road this season against SMU. You got anything to add? You good? Usually you throw in some stats, or you do
You had me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know how much we were going to spend on BYU SMU.
Not long, but usually you chip in something. I just was leaving the door open for you.
I'm just always happy to see SMU lose. one of those things, one of the boxes. If I get to check one of those boxes in a week, I feel good about it. And SMU losing is one of those boxes.
Who do you like losing more, SMU or UCF? We'll get back to that later.
SMU.
Okay. Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Utah 23-12 over Baylor. Baylor's offense not good.
I did forget I have a funny stat on the BYU SMU thing.
Oh,
I know. Okay. I'm sorry. I totally interrupted. There was just a wild, speaking of religion, a wild stat that a Jewish-born quarterback for BYU ended up winning a game against SMU of all schools. Yeah. Just all of that was just very strange.
Yeah, Rhett's laughed. 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Utah 23-12 over Baylor. This one interesting because Cam Rising did something to his hand. I guess they say there's nothing like major. He doesn't need surgery or anything, but he is
he just does what he does. He does what he does. He gets injured. No one's surprised. He's not surprised. The team's not surprised. Opponents aren't surprised. No one's surprised.
And I mean, how about this, Aaron? They only scored 1 offensive touchdown, I think, on the day. They had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown in the first quarter. They had a touchdown in the first quarter. And then they did not score at all in the second half with Cam Rising out. So they are, the team, highest ranked team in the Big 12 right now. And a lot of questions, I think, about BYU going forward, or Utah going forward, because it's not like Baylor is like supposed to have some dominant defense.
Baylor's not.
And no, I mean, 12 points. I don't think they scored a touchdown, or they scored 1 touchdown. And then I think they went for 2 and didn't get it in the third quarter. So 2 field goals, 1 touchdown. That's it for Baylor's offense. Woof. Woof.
Yeah. Again,
you got anything to add?
No surprise. I'll be surprised if Cam Rising plays more games than he sits out this season.
Yeah. Let's keep it moving. In what was a surprise, Oklahoma 16, Houston 12. After a really bad performance in week 1, Houston offensively still struggled, but they did a pretty good job keeping Oklahoma in check. They lose, but your perception of Houston has to change a little bit, being able to keep Oklahoma close. And that game was in Norman, I believe.
I was watching this game. I was actively rooting for Oklahoma because I did not want Houston to get a win before Cincinnati. And Houston didn't look good. Oklahoma didn't look good.
Right.
It was just a terrible storm of bad.
What, the only points in the second half? Did I see that right?
What I watched.
The second half? Well, Houston had 6 in the third quarter. The only points in the fourth quarter was an Oklahoma safety.
Yes, and that was towards the end of the game, actually, as Houston had just gotten the ball back in terrible position, and obviously it didn't work out for them.
Yeah. It looked bad early for Oklahoma State. It looked like they might get boat raced by Arkansas. Give the Cowpokes credit. They bounce back. They pull off a 39-31 win. That was in Stillwater in double overtime. Neither team scored in the first overtime. That is very rare that you don't at least get a field goal out of the first overtime, but neither team scored in the first overtime. Oklahoma State with 8 in the second overtime. They put down Arkansas 39-31.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of this one. But I don't know. With Gundy, you never really know what's going to happen, and he that's one. You talked about this in our first when we talked about the first game. He's one of those coaches who has found a way to win games. You don't stay in one place for that long and not find ways to win games.
That's a game that everybody had chalked up as a loss, like at halftime. They were getting owned by Arkansas, and they managed to come back and get a big win, a big one for the Big 12, another big one for the Big 12. Tulane was out on Kansas State early, a 20-10 halftime lead, and then Kansas State scores them 24-7 in the second half. That's a pretty good win for Kansas State because Avery Johnson did not play well. They as collectively, like I follow some Kansas State folks, they were in complete meltdown mode in the first half. Well, and managed to pull it together.
Avery Johnson's been less than advertised already in 2 games. He's not done anything really to write home about, and as a team that is heavily relying on this kid for the way that this season's going to go,
they ran off Will Howard.
Well, did they? Or
yeah, they did. I mean, they made that like pretty apparent at the end of last season that going forward, Avery Johnson was going to be their quarterback. The writing was on the wall for Will Howard. Like, he knew, if I'm going to play, it's probably not going to be here. So that was a bold move. You see what I've been doing? I've been making the Bearcat peak.
Oh, is that
it? I'm interested in keeping an eye on that because they are not getting what was advertised so far, but they are 2-0. Go on the road, you get a win, you stay ranked. So far, so good for Kansas State, but there are some questions on the horizon.
I'm with you.
Kansas falls 23-20 or 23-17 at Illinois. Devin Neal is good. Jalen Daniels, not so much, threw 3 picks. Kansas did not look good. They were not able to get back on track like Oklahoma State and Kansas State did.
Not only did he throw 3 picks, 18 of 32 is dreadful.
Yeah. And that's a guy, I mean, you know what the preseason in the NFL showed us and what we kind of knew watching Kansas last year? Jason Bean was good, a good college quarterback, a really good college quarterback. And Daniels has had a lot of hype. He hasn't played a whole lot of football to back up that hype. He was bad. He was bad against Illinois. Arizona starts out slow. They trail Northern Arizona 10-6 at halftime. They get it going a little bit in the second half, and they are able to pull out the victory 22-10, 12-0. A whopping, surprising, shocking 12-0 in the second half. I figured Arizona, with the coaching change and everything going on there, that they were going to be a little inconsistent. You saw that again on Saturday. I think they'll still figure it out and be pretty solid. Like, they've got a really good defense. They've got a lot of weapons on offense, but it is not humming right along for them early in the season.
Everyone's favorite early Heisman winner came back to earth with 2 catches for 11 yards. So that was,
and he's averaging 200 yards a game still, roughly.
just a far cry though from 10 catches for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, he's averaging 150 yards a game. 1 game with 300, 1 game with 11.
He still probably leads the league in both
Right.
receiving touchdowns and yards. But
Iowa State gets down early at Iowa. They storm back. They win on a walk-off field goal, 54-yarder. They beat Iowa 20-19. That's a big win for Iowa State. I mean, they looked dead in the water. Their offense looked completely fruitless in the first half against Iowa, and then they figured some things out. And if you can get a crooked number in that second column against Iowa, pretty good chance you're going to win. And they got to 20. They did just enough. They got the 2. They got the 1 off the board. They got the 2 on the board. They get the victory. That's a big one for Matt Campbell.
I think it's honestly probably as big a win for the conference as there is this season.
So far, yeah. I wouldn't discredit that.
With it being there, Iowa was ranked 21st in the country at the time. They were anything you get over the Big Ten is a big win. But with them again, being a ranked team, a top 25 ranked team from the Big Ten, I think that's gigantic for the conference.
Yes. West Virginia destroys Albany 49-14. Don't think we need to talk about that one a whole lot, other than they were down, so they probably had to throw a lot. But West Virginia's defense did give up a 300-yard passer to U of Albany. But other than that,
West Virginia had 305 yards of rushing.
Yes.
Think they were angry. I think they were angry.
I don't want to play West Virginia. As bad as this run defense is,
there's
again.
Name your team on the schedule, and it's going to be a long year.
Who I want to play even less is UCF with the way that they run their offense.
Should be fun.
45-14. They crushed Sam Houston. RJ Harvey, 19 carries, 126 yards, 4 touchdowns. They dominate on the ground and just roll Sam Houston.
Yeah,
it's hard to do, Aaron.
Add anything to that?
It's hard to score 45 points when your quarterback only throws for 169 yards. And yet UCF did it pretty easily. Nebraska 28-10 over Colorado. It was 28-0 at halftime. Dylan Raiola was really good. Colorado's bad. They're bad. In my Big 12 weekly power poll, the only team I had below Cincinnati was Colorado.
What do you make of a quarterback leaving the field with 2 minutes left in the game, just abandoning his teammates, abandoning the fans, abandoning the game?
His dad?
What are we doing?
Yeah. 28-10. They were not good. They got dominated. They were never in that game. It was over quick. And boy, things are going to get interesting in Colorado real quick.
I told you a week ago, I'm curious to see when they play which team is more in shambles. And I don't think I could be more confident in that statement at this point.
Yeah. TCU 45-0 over Long Island. Dominating performance. Don't need to say a whole lot about that one. Washington State. Yeah. Washington State whips Texas Tech 37-16. I had it on last night as I was kind of laying in bed. And Texas Tech is not good. They almost lost to Abilene Christian last week. They lost to Washington State this week. They have not looked good on defense at all. And then, you looked at that 51-point performance and you said, well, their defense is bad, but maybe they're going to be one of those teams like, basketball on turf where they just keep scoring and keep scoring and keep scoring. They did not do that against Washington State. Their offense looked pretty pedestrian, and they get dominated.
Yeah, I was not impressed in any facet of Texas Tech's game. I turned it on because it was a late game that we were going to end up having to talk about. And I saw a Swiss cheese defense, and I saw a Washington State team that is looking to find a home somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another reason why yesterday was so frustrating, because this sets up with Miami, Houston, and Texas Tech as the next 3 games, and then Arizona State after that. There was damage to be done, and I just don't have any confidence that they're going to do it. Speaking of Arizona State, that's going to, like, they were picked last. They're 2-0, a dominating win in week 1, and then they beat an SEC team in Mississippi State 30-23. I don't know that Mississippi State is going to be any good, but that was 30-13 or 30-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then they don't give up 22 unanswered points.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Grumble, grumble. And they hold on to get that victory 30-23. And all of a sudden, that team that was picked last looks like they might be a middle of the pack conference team.
I just want to be a middle of the pack team. How do we get there?
Right. I just want to not have a teen 13, 14,
I want to win
15, 16.
I want to win some coin flips.
I'll take 12, Aaron. It doesn't say there's no teen at the end of 12. I'll take 12 right now.
I want to, win some of those coin flips.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Interesting week in the Big 12. At least we'll have that to talk about on Sunday nights. We'll see you next time. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Marys, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!